Hello, my name is Ghazi alhofry, and I'm doing my analogy speech on King Tut. You ever felt like you were born for something bigger, but nobody sees it yet? That's how I see myself, and it's exactly why I compare myself to King Tutankhamun. Hope I'm not butchering that word, but for the rest of the speech, we're going to refer him as King Tut. Mostly referred. He became a pharaoh at only 9 years old. He didn't get to live a long life, but the legacy he left is, superb, unforgettable. Tomb stayed untouched for thousands of years. Once it was touched, it was essentially the discovery of the world. Like, the discovery of the century, I think, was the headline. I may not be royalty, of course, but I do feel like I relate to King Tut. Mysterious, resilient, unforgettable, just like him, in an out of body way, obviously. Um, First, I'm mysterious, obviously. I mean, his life is a mystery to historians. We know bits and pieces, obviously, of his, young age and his golden mask and how his tomb was found, but we don't know what type of person he was. I mean, that mystery keeps people fascinated to this day. And that's, I feel like, is kind of like me. I don't always, open up to people, right away, especially. And sometimes people feel like I'm assumed or hard to read, a little bit. But the truth is, I observe, I listen, I take in, the things around me. And for that point, I work at a correctional facility. Funny thing is, when last week I work for a transitional center, core civic, and so for members transitioning back into society, and one of the residents there, um, uh, Mr. Escobar. He's obviously an ex-inmate and always a hawk. I mean, when you feel someone staring at you, that's what he is. I mean, he just doesn't talk, essentially just visible, right? And one day, I go up to him and, you know, I'm like, hey man, how you doing? You know, he replies, I still remember, better than I deserve, right? And so essentially, I ask him like, I ask him a question like, I feel you, man. Like I feel you watching me. And he's like, it's the only way to learn, boss. And I mean, it resonated with me, right? I mean, just that little phrase, of course, but it's true because like, it is the best way to learn. I mean, there is no other way around that, you know. So, and for that, we have Mr. King Tut himself. You know, like King Tut, he listened, he observed, he thought a lot before he spoke, of course. And I have moments, where people misunderstood me because, I didn't show them everything on the surface. And in today's world, you don't show your true colors. Then later on, those true colors bite back at you. You weren't like this in the beginning, or you changed, the simple things they throw it at you today, you know. But I'm not the type to show off, I'm always building something internally, whether, that be spiritually, religiously, or, job wise. I'm just looking for motivation, head down, tunnel vision, you know. But just like King Tut's tomb, how it's filled with like treasures, gold, outside world didn't know. I got goals, talents, ideas that aren't always obvious. That's okay. Mysteries can be powerful. I'm resilient. I like to think I'm resilient. Like King Tut, King Tut had, well, not like me, but King Tut had health issues. Curved spine, clubbed foot, I believe. Walked with a cane, people said. Became a king in the middle of chaos. Religious problems, leadership struggles, not to mention political pressure at the time in Egypt. You know, he still ruled, he still mattered, and he still left a legacy at a young age. You know, I see that type of resilience in myself. You know, life has that type of, stress, challenges, at school, or, my health with my sports, injuries, I mean, financial struggles, who doesn't, right? But figuring out what I'm gonna do in the future has been the bigger one, you know? But essentially, we'll never get to know what is the underlying on anything, Like King Tut, I never gave up, especially when things get hard. I get knocked down, I fall all the time, but like everyone says, you get back up, and I doubt myself, obviously, but I keep showing up every day, whether it be the people around you or not, but that's what resilience is, because whether it's like, you're not perfect. Lord knows you're not perfect, It's about staying in the fight when you're tired, confused, or overwhelmed, to say the least. But finally, I like to say that I'm unforgettable. you know, um, Kind of corny, but for thousands of years, like King Tut, no one knew where he was buried. One person, what's his name? Howard Carter, discovered his tomb. Everything changed from there. Google Images, everyone in the world was upset. Discovery of the century, the golden mass became one of the most famous images. You Google, the Pharaoh mass, it's literally that, but everyone like bringing that up. Everyone wants to leave their mark, in this world. Um, I obviously don't, obviously not going to be buried with gold or anything or put in a museum exhibit, hopefully. But I want people to, know how I made them feel and be that type of person that leaves that mark and more than words. Someone whose impact sticks around. And sometimes it is with words, because to some people, that's the most impactful trait. But whether it's how I help people or treat my family, career I built, things I create or not, I want to be unforgettable. Not for fame, hopefully for my riches, but for my meaning, like King Tut. I don't just see, a pharaoh. I see a legacy and someone wanting to live a long-lasting impact. Thank you.